many of you have heard the words big data? Show of hands. Almost all of you. What about commercial genetic testing? Most of you. So if you're not familiar with commercial genetic testing, what these companies do is to send you a kit, and what you do is take a Q-tip, you swab the inside of your cheeks, put it in a tube and send it off, and they send back a host of information, big data, to you. They tease it out a little bit by getting you information, for example, of if you're good with metabolizing caffeine, or if you're good at just metabolizing drugs in general. Some other tidbits they might give you is whether you have curly or straight hair, which is something you should probably already know by now. So other information that you might not see, however, in these testings is that if you have a risk or a high or low risk of developing complex diseases, such as cancer or cardiac disease. Now, this is where our lab comes in. We are trying to find ways in honing in on the variants that are associated with cardiac disease. Hi, my name is Tess Pottinger, and I'm going to talk to you about your genetics, taking a look back to look forward. Now imagine it's the 4th of July holiday, you're having a good time with family and friends at a barbecue. You're drinking, you're eating. Unfortunately, 2 of your friends started to experience chest pain. So let's call our friends in this example, our friend Caroline, who is our woman here of African descent, and our friend Mary, who's a person of European ancestry. Now, as they go through the healthcare system, let's once again call our friend in blue, our friend who is Mary, who is our European friend, and our African American friend, who's in orange, Caroline. Now, they enter into the healthcare system, both with exactly the same symptoms. And when the physician starts asking them questions, one of the questions that he or she asked is, do you have a family history of heart disease? Now, what's interesting is that both individuals here have family history and similar extensive family history of heart disease. So with this information, what the physician would do is send information for genetic testing. Now, for our friend Caroline, or for our friend Mary here, we're able to find what's called a mutation that's associated with her disease. Now, when we have that information, our physician can now do surveillance on her extended family and also on her children. For our friend Caroline here, we're able to find variation in her data, but we're not able to find the mutation, which is information on what is causing or driving her disease. And therefore, we are not able to get information to her family and her family and her children to tell them if they need surveillance for this type of disease. So why do we have something like that occur? It's because so far in biomedical research, there is a lack or minimal diversity in these research studies, meaning that the information that we currently have is mostly on people of European ancestry. Now, you might wonder, how does this difference arise? Now, I'm going to take you all the way back to 65,000 years ago when our ancestors left Africa. So our ancestors moved out, a group of them, and started moving into Eurasia, and then from there moved into the Americas. In doing so, they stopped at each point and maybe had children, right? And when they do this, they acquire random variation that might cause changes in, for example, hair texture, meaning curly or straight hair, eye color, blue, brown, or green eyes. And these traits are carried along from generation to generation. However, there are also mutations that might occur that might drive diseases differently in different populations. In my current research, I work with what's called the New Gene Biobank, which is a biobank that's established here at Northwestern Medical Hospital. And what we do is, as patients come in, we ask, do you want to be part of a research study? And can we take a sample of your blood and also track your clinical information for us to find out more information about mutations or variations that might cause disease? What we have found thus far in my research is that if we look here, our people of European ancestry are colored in blue, And our people of African ancestry are colored in orange. And you can see there's a divergence in the clustering of these individuals. So you can imagine if research studies are only looking at the folks in blue, we might not be able to infer what might be going on with other folks that are in orange here. What we also know is that individuals of African ancestry tend to have a lot more variation. So you can imagine if we know less about them, that's even more of a disparity because they generally have more variation in general. But it's not all dire. So we have a project that Northwestern is part of called the All of Us Project. Now, what this does is they have multiple sites throughout the United States, and what they're trying to do is to build a cohort of millions of Americans where they have genetic and clinical information to try to better understand mutations that are associated with diseases. And they make it a point to include a diverse cohort of people to make sure that the information that we do get is applicable to everyone. So my task to you is, as researchers, try to include ethnicity and diversity when thinking about your research studies or building your cohorts, because big data is not effective if we're only looking a slice of our population. Thank you.